Hello, welcome to my channel. In today's session, we're going to discuss how to create a basic SSAS tabular cube. So it will be like your first SSAS tabular cube. And here we use, there are existed fact and six dimension. So in our some of the videos we already created one fact table and six dimensions. How we created that those facts and dimension, you can have a look into this particular video. This video will explain you how we created the facts and dimensions in the database. So I'll share this video link in my description. So please go through this video first and then come back to this tabular cube design video so that it will be easy to understand. If you are good at data modeling, so we can skip this looking into this facts and dimension video. You can directly continue to current video. So along with these videos, there are many videos on my channel, so you can have a look. So the topics that I'm covering here on the basically on the SSAS, MOLAB cube, and tabular cube, and then I'll soon will start with Power BI. Now let's get into the our tabular cube design. And here I connected to my database engine, and under the database engine I have the tables and facts and dimensions already created. So these are my list of dimensions, and then my fact table. So now using these six dimension and fact table, we are going to create the tabular cube. So to do that, first we need to open the Visual Studio. Let me open the Visual Studio. So here I open the Visual Studio, and then this is a starting page of the Visual Studio. Then click on Create New Project, and then here you can type tabular. And then, yeah, so the tabular instance must be installed in your local, then only it will appear in here. Okay, so if at all you're not installed yet, please install your tabular setup first, then you can start building the tabular model. So in these options, I choose the analysis service tabular project. That will be our option. Click that option and then click next. And after that, it's asking my tabular cube project name. So I keep retail cube. So because I'm going to use the retail data, and then here the location of the solution where I want to save it and solution name. So I'll keep my solution as name as the same name of the project name. Then click create. Same already exists. Okay, it's already existed because we already created the MOLAB cube in other video. That's the reason it's stating that it's already exists. Now what I'll do, I'll name it retail cube TM. TM is nothing but tabular model. Create. Now the tabular model is getting created. This is the window that I get in. So the tabular cube is actually, it's not like how it works in the MOLAB cube. It works in little differently. So we need to mention where we want to create our tabular model. Okay, so tabular model is basically in memory tool. So to even though to create any solution, we need to mention it's required some space and memory, and we need to use the database engine. I mean, database engine is nothing but analysis service engine to create our tabular model. So in my scenario, I'll use my current workspace server, which is my tabular SQL SSAS instance. Okay, I don't want to change anything. Here I'll use localhost tabular test connection, and it's trying to connect it. Now it's click OK, and once I choose the workspace where I want to work it, then I can click OK. Once you do that, what will happen? It will create the working model of your tabular cube. Okay, you can see that where it's created that working model. Okay, so as we mentioned, we used our local SSAS engine as my workspace, development workspace. That's the reason you're going to see that whatever that tabular retail cube TM, that the cube solution that we just created, it will appear here. Okay, let me show you. Come on, why it's taking so long to expand? Meanwhile, we can see here. Right, so first our solution was created. Okay, I think it's still, yeah, project creation is successful. The solution is created. Okay, now we are good to start our development of first cube. All right, so my databases list now expanded, and you can see here that the newly created tabular solution, right? So that is created here, and whatever we start doing the development there, it will be syncing the changes to here. But this will be your working tabular session. It's not deployed to your SSAS engine. It the tabular model during the development, it required the workspace and it occupied the SSAS resources from the management studio. See, as I mentioned, it's in memory tool. Once we deploy the cube, there will be one more solution will appear here under this retail cube, stating that retail cube. But until that, this is your temporary working space directory. It will stay until your Visual Studio open. Once the Visual Studio closed, the Tableau Cube Visual Studio closed, then automatically this will get closed. Okay, that's the kindly note that. Now coming back to our model, so this is our cube model name, and then here I'm going to create my first data source. I want to use the, okay, so whether you can import any data sources which is already connected. You can also create any flat files or Excel files to bring into the queue, but our scenario is more create the new data source. Oh, we don't have any existing connections. Sorry, yeah. Now we're going to use the import, and here I want to connect to my Microsoft SQL Server. Click next, and here I will give my database engine connection. Second, database engine connection. What is my database engine here? It's a local host SQL Server 2022. Sorry, I'm too fast enough to copy it. Now I go and add my server name here, and then you give friendly name, whichever name you like, and then here you keep the Windows authentication as of now, or we can use the SQL Server authentication. But as of now, I'll use the Windows authentication, and we'll see during the deployment if it is required SQL Server authentication to connect to the database. That time we will change it. Okay. Now, as of now, I'll keep the Windows authentication because I have a read access to my database. Now connect to the database. Which database I want to connect? Once we connected, test connection. So the connection test was completed and it's passed, and then we use the current user credential. Click next, and then here now it's asking which are the tables we want to add it from database to cube solution. Right, so I will select the first option because I'm not going to write any query to fetch the data. I'll use the existing tables from my database. That's the reason I choose the first option. Click next, and here I pick which are the tables I want to part of my queue. Okay, so here our dimension tables are buyer customer, buyer geo, product, seller customer, seller geo, time dimension, and fact sales. These are our how many it came. I think is there anything missing? Dim product. Okay, I think we're good. Totally three, yeah, six dimension and one fact table. So if you want to give the friendly name for them, you can do that. So for now, I'll remove the just dim and give a buyer customer, and here also I'll remove the and give a friendly name buyer geo, and then dim instead of dim product I keep product, and then seller customer, and then seller geo. I'll keep it like this, and then fact. And for fact sales, I'll keep it fact sales. I don't want to change. And while you once you design and give the friendly name, let's say in your database you have a lot of volume of the data, and during the development you don't want to fetch all your data to your during the development. Right? So sometimes bringing the lot of data into your solution, it will crash, right? That's the reason. If you have a lot of data, you can use filters. Okay, these filters will actually help you to limit the data. Let's say you take only particular month data during the development. Once the development is completed, you can deploy the cube solution. Later, you can remove that filter so that the remaining data will come up. Okay, so if you pull a lot of the data to your tabular cube, what will happen? Since it's using the SSAS engine to keep entire your data in memory using this SSAS engine cache, what will happen if you don't have any additional sufficient resources? Then you frequently your Visual Studio will keep on crashing. Okay, that's the advantage of using this filter details where you can downsize the data during the development and later you can remove the filter and pull entire data. But for our scenario, we have only limited data, very small chunk of data. It is 84 rows, right? So I don't think we require this filter selection. So we leave it as a blank and we take all the records and click on the finish button. Once you click on the finish button, all these 7 tables will get added to your tabular cube model data model. I mean, the model that whatever we created. So it's loading. Usually, it won't take much time. It should be very fast. It should start reading the data. Not sure why it's taking the more time. Any resource constraints in my system that I need to check. All right. So it's got failed. Why it's got failed? It's saying that contains the impersonate. Okay, so there is the access issue. Let me go back here and instead of Windows authentication, what I'll do, I'll use the SQL authentication to read the data. For that, I already created the one SQL account here. So let me copy this. I hope I remember this password still. Let me try. I use the SQL authentication and then let me try this password, save my password, test connection. I think the password is wrong. Okay. What I'll do, I'll delete this and add my SQL account again. And then logins, new login. It won't take much time. Sorry, you, you user. And then I use password. Then I don't want to enforce password expiration. For now, I'll give a full access to this account. Okay, but usually we don't do that. We give only read access. Since it's a local account, I'm giving the full access. Okay, now I grant the access to that. I'll create a new SQL account. Now let me test again. Test. Okay, I think I need to change here. Mm, service account, connect database using low privilege account. Let me try this. It will work. Okay, let me see now what will happen. It seems some issues with these accounts. Now let me try to bring only one time this time. Okay, now let me go here, save, and right click here, import new table. What we'll do, instead of pulling entire tables, we'll take first one table and see our credentials are working or not. Then we'll move on. Okay, so finish. Now let me see what will happen. Now still it's failing. Get impersonated. Okay, let me fix this issue. All right, I fixed the issue to connect to the database. So I made the settings. So let me show you what are the changes I made it. I still keep here use Windows authentication, and for the impersonation, I use the service account. And then what I did, so after changing the service account, then I go to the services.msc and change my login as. So previously it was using the login as properties. Okay, let me go to the properties. Yep, this is the one. Previously, it's using the NT service tabular account, but now I changed to local system account because I don't want to use the NT authentication. So I'm good with the local system account, and then restarted my tabular cube. So once I restarted tabular cube services, that's it. So now I added the first table, which is the dim buyer. Okay, let me delete this and re-add it now. Okay, this time I can go ahead and add all our new tables. Click on next and select all the dimension tables and fact tables. And here I don't change anything. Let's keep it as it is and click on the finish. So now you can see all my records got loaded to my cube and then close. So once you closed it, your dimensions and fact tables are available in your tabular mode. Now here, so our you can see this entire model in the table format, like dimension wise, you can browse them, or if you want, you can view them in the diagram mode. Okay, presently there are no relationship exist now. So what we need to do, we need to create the relationships. Okay, so we need to create the relationships in star schema mode. So again, here our fact table is fact sales table, and then remaining our dimension. So all the tables or dimensions will be dragging to one place. You know that, right? The fact table will be surrounded with all the dimensions. So now I just put it in one group, all of them, to create the star schema. Now I'll start building the relationship one by one. Create a relationship. So here my table one will be buyer geo. Buyer geo code is the my primary key, and then table two is my fact table. And you can see one to many. So the fact table will have a many values, where the dimension table will have the one value. That's called cardinality one to many. And then so you can click OK once the relationship is enabled. And yes, now my fact table is connected to my buyer geo dimension table. Now I will do the same thing for all my rest of the dimensions. So buyer geo is completed. Now I'll go to the buyer customer. For the buyer customer, we'll enable the buyer customer code and buyer customer code. Again, it's a one-to-one, one-to-many relationship between the fact and dimension. Click OK. So this is completed. Now I'll do the same thing for uh, product dimensions. So for the product dimension, so we'll use the fact product from the fact table, and here it looks like oh sorry, here I need to select the product as my primary key instead of product. It seems I selected category. That's the reason you get this warning message. So you see that, right? The Visual Studio or Tabular engine is already having the intelligence to find out where exactly uh, the dimension is getting the unique records. So we can see category, it identifies some duplicate records, and it's telling that it's not supported currently. I mean, when you find the duplicate records, that means it's a many to many relationship. So the many to many relationship will not work in the tabular cube. So that's the reason I easily identified, okay, I choose the wrong column in the dimension. Now I'll correct that and choose the product is my primary key in my dimension. Now we can see cardinality is changed from one to many. Now click OK. So the relationship enabled between the fact and product dimension table. Now we'll move on. We'll do that same thing for seller customer code, and for the fact table seller customer code. It's automatically recognized the connection because it's using the same names. Click OK, and then again right click, new relationship, and this time we use the seller geo, and then here fact sales, and again we use the seller geo code primary key. Click OK. So the last one is the time dimension. So that is the one thing we need to enable. Transaction date is my primary key in the fact table. Again, same transaction date. That's it. So our relationships are enabled, and we are good now. Right. So what else we are missing here? Okay. And then I think we are pretty good. Right. So columns we created, and within the columns, okay, I'm going to use the columns as it is. I'm not going to change since we are discussing only on the basic tabular cube. So let's not I mean, go into the more details. We'll cover the other properties, other things in the advanced classes. But now we are good with creating the tabular cube. It's a very pretty straightforward and simple. Now let's focus on the deployment of our tabular cube. To do the deployment, we need to again do some settings change. Now we are in the models tab. Now we move to the solution explorer. That's where our entire cube solution. So this is our cube solution. But in the tabular model expression, here you can have many models. And but in solution explorer, what are the models that you created on this tab? All of will appear in the solution explorer one by one. Okay, each model can have the different logics, different dimensions, different fact tables. But one tabular solution can have many models. But in our scenario, we have created only one model. Now we are going to deploy that particular model. So to do the deployment of that model, first we need to go to the Solution Explorer properties, click on properties. Under the deployment, you need to mention where you want to deploy the deploy this solution. So target server name you need to give, and version you need to mention, and the database. So while you're deploying this cube solution, what database name you want to give it? I keep it same, retail cube TM, and even model name I'll change from model.beam to retail cube. So these are the property settings that we pass it, and then click OK once we are done. So right click on solution and deploy. That's it. The cube is deployed. Right. So I mean, if you have a huge volume of the data, it will start first. It will deploy and it will start processing the data. But in our scenario, the data volume is very less, so that's why it's like very fast when it deployed. Okay. Now let's go to the SSMS and see whether it's really deployed or not. Now I'll go to the tabular cube and right click on databases, refresh. There you go. So now our databases are expanded, and you can see our newly deployed retail cube TM. This is our cube, but you can still see this retail cube TM, which is in the cache mode. Now let me close my Visual Studio and see what will happen, whether that particular cache cube will get closed or not. Okay, now let me. Okay, even if I refresh this database tab, ideally it will go off, but let me do that by connecting the. Okay, what I do is then click on refresh. If I do it, definitely it will go, but it will take time to expand. Yeah, now it's expanded very quickly. So now you can see here, the other one is the workspace one is closed because I closed the Visual Studio. Now only we see the our deployed solution. Now you can from here you can start writing your DAX queries to fetch the data from these tables, and then you can also connect this cube from the Excel. Let me show you that how to connect the cube from the Excel, and then data here, get data from databases, and from analysis service. Here we give the server name. Our server name is localhost tabular. Click next, and then you can see here our retail queue TM tabular model. Click next, click finish, pivot table report. That's it. Our queue is in Excel. Now the client, the users will be start using this queue. Uh, Oops. So why these rows are not coming under the values? Because the property settings that we forgot to change. Let me open that, and then we can change the property settings. Let me open the Visual Studio again. Right, so this is our cube. It's already there in our recent folders list. I just open that solution. I go to here under the tables and the fact tables. Under the fact tables, what I do, I'll expand the columns, and here I'll go to the properties of these measures. And then once you click on that column, then you need to press F4. When you click on F4, it will open the properties of that particular column. And here you need to change this summarize by. That is the option. Presently, since we didn't mention any summarize by, in Excel, when you browse it, it's appearing like a normal dimension attribute. So that's the reason it's not coming under the values tab. Instead of that, it go under the rows. Now let me change this summarize by to sum. That is my sum operation should be happen whenever we drag that particular measure. Similarly, I want to do same thing for my cell in ASP USD. Selected that column, click on F4, function F4, and then sum. This is changed, and here also NDP USD, and then click F4 and change this to sum. And then last one, not last one, so let USD F4, and then change to sum. I mean, not only sum, you can summarize by any. Here you can mention that don't summarize this data: max, average, distinct count, and some minimum and max count of the records. Whichever the summarization you want to do, you can change it using this option: summarize by, and then sales product quantity. That is also quantity. I want to summarize it by using the sum function. Now, once it's done, and what I'll do, I'll deploy the my cube solution again because these changes needs to be deployed, right? So now I deployed it. Yeah, good. It's deployed. Now I go back to the Excel. Just click on refresh all tab. That's it. So once it's refreshed, it will be okay. I cannot add. Why? I cannot add still. Let me uncheck and then click refresh all. Okay. So why it's not coming under the summarization? Right. So it's deployed. All right. In that case, what I'll do, I will write a formula. I mean, generally, am I missing any another setting here? Data type is decimal type and summarized by this column. By default, reporting client to such it functions sum for column calculation on this column is added. Yeah, that is correct. Ideally, it will sum it out, but it's not summing up. Okay, let me create one measure here instead of stuck with that. What I'll do here, I will create sum of. I'm just creating the one measure based on this particular column. Okay, so this is how we create the measure. First, I'll create the sales net USD and then close the bracket. So I can give a measure name, sum of sales net USD. Right. So now I'll create same thing for the NDP USD, sum of sales NDP USD, and the column name I can give sum of sales NDP USD. That's it. So two measures I created. We'll create the same calculated measure for the other measures. Then I mean the base measures. Basically, we call these measures as a base measures because they are directly coming from the pack table. And these measures we calculate call it like a calculated measure. Now what I'll do, I'll quickly deploy the solution again. Okay, so let me deploy it. Deploy the changes so that these two measures will come to the SSMS. Now it's deployed. I'll go to here Excel again and click on refresh all. Now when I do that, now this time I'll get the measures. Now I select these measures. These measures are aggregated, and then So here I can drag any dimension from anywhere. It looks like a chunk. And the dates I can select transaction dates. So those 3 days transactions are appearing. So this is how we browse the tabular cube in Excel. Not only this Excel, you can browse it indirectly, the same data in Power BI also. Okay, let me connect to the Power BI desktop. Let's see if it is opens very quickly, the Power BI, then I can show. All right. So the Power BI connecting to the Power BI is, yeah, it's open. Okay, good then. Okay, let me bring the Power BI to here. To the, so this is the Power BI, just I opened. Now here I can go to the get data and click on the analysis service and then type your server name, localhost, tabular, and database name. If you know already, you can give it the database name. Okay, and you can connect to the live or you can use the import method. For now, we'll use the live connection. Click. Oh, I think it won't connect. It's detail cube underscore tm. That is our cube name. Click OK, and then I use the Windows authentication and connect. That's it. So tabular cube is connected. Click OK. You can see all your dimensions and everything is open. So this is how we connect the tabular cube from Excel and Power BI. So far, we are successfully able to complete the design and develop and deployment of our tabular cube. Our next part will be processing our tabular cube on day-to-day basis. How do we do the process tabular cube? The simple way, you can right-click on your process, cube solution, and then process database. So when you do this, it will process entire your dimensions as well as your uh, measure groups. Measure groups are nothing but here the dimensions are nothing but wherever the table start with dim and the measure group is nothing but wherever you have the table start with fact. In tabular cube, all your dimensions and facts will display as a table format. Okay, so that's the reason you will have option to process the table instead of the like process dimension or process entire cube. Instead of that way, you will get the process table option or process database. When you click on process database, you will get totally all these four options: process default, process full, process clear, and recalculation. So process default is nothing but it will identify what is the state of the current state of the cube, and then we'll process the either full or process data or recreating the index. Process full is it will process the data as well as creating the indexes, and the process clear is it will just empty your entire tabular cube. So that structure only exists where you will not have the data. Process recalculation is it will just recreating your indexes and recreating the any uh, updated data, like including the like some dimension you might have the updated data, so those dimensions alone will get processed, and wherever you have these cache and everything will get recalculated. That is the option. Now I'll do the process flow and then click OK. When you do that, it will start reading the data and it's completed. You can see here the details. Under the details, actually don't see anything. It will show just only the script, JSON script. That's all. And the process, our cube is completed. You can also process individual table by clicking process table. And here you can select the process full and then click OK. Once you do that, it will process your entire data. So this is how you can process your data. Even you can generate the script. Okay, the process option script. And once the script get generated, and you can copy this script and connect to your SQL agent, and then process your entire which other dimension or which other table you want to process it, you can do it. So that's about processing your entire tabular cube. So that's pretty much we covered on how to process the data. In the upcoming session, we're going to discuss advanced option of the tabular cube.